Okay, so a little while back, I was asked about cat reactivity. There was a cat that was attacking another cat in the house, and they were wondering how to work on that. Any type of reactivity kind of boils down to the same basic principles, basic process, but there are nuances that for each individual case. But the basics is it's desensitizing and differential reinforcement. Differential reinforcement is asking them to do something else instead, and then rewarding them for choosing, basically making smart choices, choosing the thing that you want them to do instead of the old behavior which you don't. And desensitizing them is just getting them used to the presence or the stimulus of the other cat, i.e. just it being there. So first, I start with a process of differential reinforcement. And to begin that process, I actually do a thing called target training. I actually train all my animals target training because it is a very useful. You going by Rakshasa? You all done here? It is a very useful tool when working with animals because it gives you ways to move them about. Target training is when you have an animal touch a body part, do something. With dogs, I teach all the dogs to do it to their owner's hand, so that way they just come up, they boop their nose to the owner's hand. You can move the dog around. You move any animal around. Now, I would do the same thing with cats, but cats tend to be smaller and more agile. Also, if we're working with an aggressive cat, the issue could be that they will incorporate those claws and those teeth that they have, huh, Rakshasa? So I also like to use a tool, this little wand here. At the end of it has a little ball. So instead of the hand, I'll actually teach them to boop their nose to that. And now I have a way to ask them to move around with this little wand. You just put it out there, then ask the cat to target, and then the cat will come up and boop it. Rakshasa is not trained to target. I've never really had a need to do that with him. Okay, I was working with it just the other day, but just briefly. Anyway, now that once you start getting that process and you want to train this initially, Rakshasa is being a normal kitty and exploring everything. Once you get this trained in, without the presence of the other cat, because first you want to get this good and strong, and then include the other cat. Now, when you bring in the other cat, the best thing to do is have what I like to call a howdy situation. Actually, it's a pretty common term in the zoo world. We just call it howdy as in, howdy, how are you doing over there? And we basically have two animals see each other, but there's a barrier, some type of either a baby gate, cage door, screen door, something in between them so they can smell each other, see each other, but they can't actually hurt each other, if that makes sense. They might go bat at each other through the barrier, but that barrier is there for the safety of everybody to make sure that the situation doesn't get worse. So whenever the animal looks at the other animal, you then ask for the target. Once they turn and look towards this, you mark and then reward them. Now, also in this process, what we're really going for is them just looking away and ignoring the other animals. So at first, I use the target just to start that behavior going. I now have a way to ask them, hey, look away. After that, we then will also start marking anytime they look over the other animal and then choose to look away or walk away from that animal. Every time they choose to go away, you're rewarding and marking that. You're making that the go-to behavior rather than charging and attacking because they had some reinforcement, something in their head that they liked about attacking the other cat, whether it was just the endorphin rush or just the idea that the other cat left after that incident. They got something out of it. So now you have to give them something for ignoring that other cat. So that's the differential reinforcement. Basically, mark every time they go towards the target, every time they look away from the other animal or walk away from the other animal. Desensitizing kind of incorporates itself into the differential reinforcement training, but we also will just click anytime they see the other cat. So that way we can start causing a reward feedback loop just with the presence of the other animal to help try to counteract whatever agitation the stimulus of seeing that other cat is doing. So basics are you target, make them move away, and mark and reward every time they leave, and then also reward them whenever they see the other cat. You might have to play a lot with the rewards. Cats are very tricky. I actually was working with this guy because I'd never target trained him before, but I kind of wanted this video to get out, so I didn't quite get there. But one of the problems I was running into is actually that he was finding me a better reinforcer than most of the food that I had to offer. So sometimes you'll have to experiment around to find a very high-end reinforcement for a cat. Could be tuna, could be wet baby food like the salmon and chicken types. It could be any number of things. But the cat, remember, the cat decides what's the most reinforcing. We don't.
Kitty.
Unfortunately, I don't have a video of a cat because while I do work with cats, a lot of people have the misconception that cats can't be trained. But here is a dog reacting to a cat video. It is pretty much the same process. This dog is going to be rewarded every time that the cat goes by and it does not react or it chooses to go away, such as right there. The owner asked him to, or asked her, the pup to go away from the stimulus. So
Now,
it's
if
just
you
simple
see
as that.
leg split out with the cat walking around, like she's laying down with that real comfortable dash lay down. I want you to toss that treat to her, put it in the paws too.
If this were earlier on in the training, that little glance towards the cat and away would have definitely been a reward.
Yes. I found the stash of treats. I'm a kitty. I don't want to. I control where I go. If Dash goes search the cat, you know.
Dash no.